crispy.
Alright guys, and welcome back to another episode of Figures in Action. And today what I'm actually going to do is a tutorial. I'm going to take a, you know what? Is it a different approach? I'm not even sure. Kind of going to lay everything out, go through everything that I need to create this chain and these cuffs and chains, I guess. And then I will put the camera on a tripod and I will build one of the, I built this one earlier today. This is what we're going to be learning how to create. So I will put the camera down after I kind of go through everything real quick, and then we'll start. I'll start creating it with the camera on a tripod. So real quick. So in order for us to create this here, this is the essential things we're going to need. So we're going to need a chain. This little piece of wood is going to be between these two, and then this is going to be kind of that back piece. Then these little, I think they're called brads. I don't even know. I thought they were. Anyway, that's going to be here. And then this piece is going to hold the chain in place. So basically, these are just the these are the few things you're using to create this. But you need all of this to get here. Oh, and I almost forgot an X-Acto blade as well, as that's what's going to help you, or what's going to have you cut the, or that's what you use to cut the foam with, the foam sheets. All right, real quick. So this Dremel is going to be used. So you know what? Probably the best thing to do is kind of keep going back to referencing this piece. So this Dremel is going to be used to put the hole here, and in between here there's wood, and there's a little piece of wood there, and a hole going from one to the other side, and then we're going to put one of the links in there. So that's what the Dremel's for. You don't necessarily need a Dremel. You can use, I think I have this piece over here. If you have something like this, sorry guys. If you have something like this, you're good to go. You know, be creative. You just need something to kind of get through wood and create that hole. So this chain is just this. I went to AC Moore and I just looked through the jewelry section, and this was the closest thing to kind of what I was looking for. So you can find that there, you know, almost any arts and crafts store, Michael's, AC Moore, Hobby Lobby. You're gonna use this saw to cut this piece of wood, and that piece of wood is actually from a kind of a thicker popsicle stick. And so this, excuse me, this is used for the wood. These two are used to kind of open up the links. This is the pack. I want to show you guys where I get kind of that hardware. So this is that pack. It's a Mardware assortment. And then this is the brads, I'm assuming is what they're called. These little guys here that will in turn turn into those guys, and then some sandpaper so I can sand these little fellas, and then the paint that I use in the back, some brushes, glue gun that's what we're going to use to kind of glue these pieces together, and that's pretty much it. So I am going to now set this camera up on a tripod and start to build this ASAP. I don't want to go more than 15 minutes here. So the prior clip that I showed you guys was just kind of an overview of all the tools that you're gonna need to complete this, right? So what I'm gonna do is, instead of kind of cutting everything, cutting this piece in front of you guys and this piece in front of you guys and sawing down this little piece of wood, I just don't think that's gonna make sense for a tutorial. It's all been pre-cut, so what we're gonna do is we're now gonna build it. All right, so just to give you guys an idea of sizes, because I know that's going to be one of the questions that I get asked. In terms of inches, this thing here is almost 3 inches, about 2 3/4 inches, more or less. And then this guy here is about 3/4 of an inch. And on the other side, a little bit less, but you know, it can be equal all the way around. And then this little piece of wood is about 1/2 an inch. But the key here is that you want to cut your wood so that it fits in here and that it doesn't kind of stick out. So when I bend this fold this over rather, you're not going to see the wood sticking out of the, kind of sticking out So that's the goal. So as long as this little piece of wood that's basically acting as your reinforcement for the link that's going to kind of go into this, that will then be cuffed on the action figure's wrist. This is just extra support. So this piece of wood is, for the most part, it'll crack. You know, when you drill something through it, it's just so thin, and it is popsicle. It's a little stronger than balsa, but for the most part, just the way wood is, it's gonna crack. But that's okay, because by the time you drill the hole into it, you would have glued this piece in together and put some glue gun on it, so you'll be good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build this, kind of build it in front of you guys. And again, for sizing, that was just the sizing I went with. I took an action figure and I kind of just put it around his wrist, and I was like, all right, well, if it's, you know, if we're looking at something like that, that's not too bad. You'll be able to slide his hand right off and you'll be good to go, where you don't have to open and close them, and therefore the possibility of destroying it becomes, you know, it becomes more of a possibility in terms of using it over and over. So let's get to this real quick. So I already got my glue gun. It's already been heating up, doing its thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little piece. I'm just going to put four, I guess, kind of in the corners, just 4 little dots of glue. I want to stay away from putting glue right in the middle, just because, you know, or I shouldn't say in the middle, but glue from either of the top sections. And then what you do with that, and you just kind of put it here and just glue it onto here. And again, the goal is that you want to set it up so that no wood is sticking out. So then you kind of give it a good squeeze. So now we have, that's all set up. So what you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing. Now, the hole I'm going to drill is going to be kind of a little bit higher. It's not going to be so low, so I can fit the link into it. So that's, I guess that's what I meant in terms of placing the glue. So what you want to do is just kind of hit the corners, and you should be good to go. Once you do that, you just fold it over, and boom. Now you have your cuff. And it's kind of the last thing that I did with this other piece is I just kind of put a strip up here of glue. Just a nice little strip. And I don't want it to dry this way, so I usually let it kind of dry for a few seconds, and then I just kind of wipe down the excess, pretty much press on it, but it kind of gives it a layer of glue there. So once you have that, again, you can use different things. In this particular case, I'm just going to use a Dremel, because Dremels are a lot quicker, and for the sake of time, I am going to go with a Dremel. And actually, this is a piece that I've never used. I just kind of saw this in the box. I never even knew I had it. Anyway, it's kind of this piece. You can't really see it, but and as you can see, I'll shave it a little bit. So what I've done is I've just created a hole. And in this hole is where you're going to put the chain link, or the link of this. So we're going to take this apart so you guys can see how I take it apart. Let me grab my... Alright, so every single one of these links has like a, you know, you can split it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of grab one corner and then use this these needle nose pliers and just kind of open it up. So as you can see, we kind of opened it up. Now what we do with this is we place it right in here. Oh, I keep kind of shifting to the left here. Alright, so it's placed in there. So then what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to close it up. So as you can see, it's open up. Kind of put it in here. And now you close it up. Alright. You know, there's ways to be neater about it. Like I can kind of go the long way, and you know, you'll start, the more you kind of mess with these things, you'll find, I'm not going to do it now, but it's not going to fall out. It's tight enough where the link is not going to. So we already have, this section is already set. It is done. What we do next is, in this case, I just use this little piece of foam just as an example. With this, I'm going to use this bigger piece here. Now before, you know what, we can do that first. So what I'm going to do is, this guy here, it opens up. So I'm just going to kind of You can just do it with your nails. They're not that difficult to open up. So you kind of open that up. You throw it onto the other end. You close that up. And a lot of times I notice when I close it just with my fingers, it kind of stays open a little bit. So I usually just take one of these pliers and just kind of just like squeeze it together. So it just gives me a little bit better, a little tighter than it was. And then I'm going to take this piece. Now, it's up to you in terms of your decision on when you're gonna put this on the wall. I'm just gonna do it now for the sake of kind of building. So I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on here, kind of more towards the middle, and then we're gonna put this right in the middle, so it's there. Again, these you can paint this before you glue it. So wherever you decide this is gonna go on your dial, paint it first. I'm gluing it for the sake of going through this tutorial. The next thing I did is I kind of found right in the middle. And again, we're dealing with, this is all foam. So there's a piece of foam board, there's a piece of foam sheet. So we're just gonna stab this all the way to the very end. So already, you already have your cuff and your link is pretty much all set in terms of the actual construction of it. Now what we're gonna do is these little guys. I've used different things for the original dial that I created, which is the Masters of the Universe Hordak slime pit. I didn't use these guys. I used some smaller nails, but you can use these as well. Just keep in mind that with something like this, you definitely want to give it a little bit of a sand. And what that does is that takes away some of the glossiness, so that when you paint it, the paint will adhere better to it. So let's just do that real quick. We can just sand these guys down with the quickness. And again, you don't have to do a perfect job, because this is the type of piece that will be on the wall and it's not gonna get a lot of wear and tear. You know, we're not young children taking our toys into bath time and scratching them up and shit. So we're not at that level anymore. So because of that, you can get away with not having to. And mind you, I'm gonna seal this with Mod Podge, but not having to worry so much about doing a perfect job in terms of sanding down some of that gloss. So we're gonna do it. A lot of it. This is where the skill level goes in. I mean, you can measure it and get the exactly this, but at this point, I'm just kind of eyeing it. What I want to do is I'm stabbing it in. I want to make sure that when this piece is in, you can still see, some of the background. So in other words, I don't want this to overlap. I don't want to kind of put it in a situation where it's kind of hanging out a little bit. So I got to make sure that I eye it as best as possible. If you're not too experienced, I would say measure it and you should be good. I feel pretty good about eyeing things these days, so I'm gonna go with that. Let me see, this one I eyed incorrectly, but as you can see, this was a good example because it's kind of sticking out. It's not giving me enough visual of kind of behind it. So I'm just gonna pop it out, give it another placement, boom, and that's a lot better. And then the last piece, get a little low right here, get low, get low, get low. All right, so as you can see, we have duplicated this piece pretty quickly. Mind you, again, completely understand that what you just saw was after I cut all these pieces, but even in terms of cutting these pieces out in the chain, and it's not that difficult. I shouldn't say difficult. It's not that time consuming. All right, cool. So let's get to the painting process real quick. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually tape off kind of the corners here, because if I don't do that, it's going to look a little off and it's not going to kind of give you guys what I'm trying to portray here. So I'm just going to do this very quickly. If you decide to kind of put this on your dial and then kind of, before you paint it, feel free to do that. If you want to kind of tape it off so that when you do paint it in silver or in chrome or whatever color you decide to do it, you're not going to get anything in the background. You can do that as well. Again, just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just doing this very quickly and then we'll just go from there. So we have all that. Let's bring a couple of these little cups out. Let's put some silver up in here because we already have black, because the foam is black. The foam sheet's already black. You don't have to give it another color. The chrome is going to do great. Alright, so we got a brush here, a little bit of chrome, and we start to paint. Alright, and so I usually wear I shouldn't say usually. Whenever I'm at home, I'll throw on the gloves so I don't get any paint on my hands. Ultimately, I doesn't matter to me too much. A lot of times when I am painting, I use my fingers to kind of give the paint a certain effect. So a lot of times I end up not using gloves. I guess when I work with blacks, I try to use gloves because blacks are they stain your hands a little bit more. If I'm working with airbrush paint, same deal there. So we got that painted, and I got inside painted a little bit. You can't see the inside. You cannot see the inside when these are on the action figure, but I just wanted to, you know, just in case you get a little closer, try to get some of that black. So here we go. Again, the great thing about it is that all I use is one coat of this. Oh, let me just show you guys what it is. So this is what I use for pretty much for all my metal. This metallic acrylic paint. It's a shimmering silver. It's by Decor. I've been using this for a while. I love this. The brown, you can use any brown. In this case, I'm just going to use chestnut. That's going to be kind of the rust. And then the other rust, where it's kind of more of an orangey color. This is a burnt orange, and this is also by Deco Art. So the good thing about using black foam sheets is that putting the silver on, the places where it's a little streaky, you're just going to see kind of darkness. So it's perfect. Then you come over here with the silver, and you're kind of doing the same thing here. Kind of painting it, and these little brads may need to be painted a little more. Get the sides again. If the idea, most of these accent pieces are generally should be used at the very end. So once you're kind of done with everything, then you add these. So you know, in this particular case, I just added it to the dial, so we're pretending this is the dial just for the sake of the tutorial, but you want to make sure that you get it, you know, every little corner, everything behind, just make sure you get that all silverized and chrome. Alright, so right now it looks like I have the silvers are in for both. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take another brush here, we're going to take a little bit of this chestnut. You know what, now that I'm here, let me see if I have a dark, I should have a darker brown, let me see. This melted chocolate might work, and it's actually almost running out, so I can just pick right from it. It's just a melted chocolate American or apple barrel rather. Yeah, there's some in here. All right, so we put a little bit in there. It's a little more watery than I like, but it's cool. It'll work out. So I have some brown on my brush. Take some of that excess paint off. And just start painting the chain, pretty much. Again, I have no rhyme or reason. I'm just going at it and trying to get as much brown in there as I can. But I don't want to make the entire chain brown. I still want it to have that silver. So it looks like this is dried a little bit. So we're just kind of, we're just kind of doing a lot of that. I'm just trying to get as much of this melted chocolate into the chain on both sides. You know, again, I don't wanna make it so that the whole chain is brown. I want some silver to kind of shine through. Very important. But alright, so then we take the, I don't know if you can see kind of the effect, but you're gonna just basically just give it that kind of that brown dry brush. Okay. So it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna just put a little more brown so I can just get a couple more stains where I want them. And then with this guy, alright. Why do I feel like this brown is not? There it is. It's a little watery, but it's working. The good thing, like for example, if you decide to go this route and use these, The great thing is that, like, for the dial that I created that had these, I kind of hooked it up so that if you wanted to just pull that out, you actually can pull it out. It doesn't go all the way through a 1-inch foam, so it does give you the ability to kind of you know, put these away if that's what you wanted to do, and then kind of put it back if that's what, you know, if you wanted to leave it there permanently, you can do that too. But that option is available. Let me just get a little brown in there. All right, so now we're gonna take this very same. We'll get some of that brown off. Let me see if I can get a little tissue here and just help it along its way. Just so I don't have to leave here to brush this or to wash this. And we have this orange. Take a little bit of that. You're gonna do the same deal. And you're just going to give it that orange pop. And basically that's just rust. Rust is oxidation of rust, kind of does funny things to metal, and a lot of times it kind of turns it brown and orange and so forth. So that's the kind of the idea I had in mind. And again, it gives it that look. And then once you get here, just kind of get that orange off of the brush, and it gives it kind of really good effect at the end. And anything that's bright silver, I try to kind of dull out a little bit. All right, so pretty much and that's what you get left with at the very end. So you see here, like the white, I would definitely suggest that you go with a thicker brown, as the white will seep through. Okay, but yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of it. So now we have, it's funny because Muhammad, who is the name of the client that ordered the Hordak diorama, asked me for a couple of these extra, and I completely forgot that. I was like, yeah, absolutely, and I never did them. So it was kind of cool that I had to do this tutorial, because it allowed me to create 2 more that I can send to him. He actually ordered something else that I'm working on. So I went way over the time I wanted to go over, man. So my apologies for that, man. We're looking at a damn 25-minute video almost. My fault, guys. I wish I could shorten it. I wish I can go back, but this is it. So sit through it or don't. That's cool, but this is how I go about creating these. Alright, y'all. Hope you enjoyed, and I'm out. Peace. Yo, I almost forgot the most important part, or one of the most important parts, is Mod Podge. The reason it's important is because we want to seal this paint in. As you guys saw a few seconds ago, the paint will easily scratch off of that. So we got to make sure that we're sealing this part here in particular. And although it looks like it's kind of creamy or whatever, it'll dry to a clear finish. And then more importantly is this part here. And the reason it's important to give this a Mod Podge is because this is the part that's going to be going around the action figures' hands and wrists. So you want to make sure that this paint is not going to rub off on the action figures. Although it is acrylic paint, so it's not like a permanent paint. But still, you don't want to deal with that bullshit. So just make sure that you kind of get it in there. You Mod Podge it, you kind of let that dry. And it'll be safe in terms of not leaving any paint on the action figures. And I also do the chain. I mean, it's metal, so I'm not sure how great Mod Podge is for metal, but whatever. Just do it. And the good thing is that, again, it dries clear, so you're not going to see it. And it's not strong enough where it's going to kind of keep your it's not going to keep your chains like together or clump them up, because it's just Mod Podge. It's just basically Mod Podge is just a light Elmer's tacky glue that's just kind of watered down a little bit, I guess. Alright, so I just want to make sure this is the Mod Podge I use. Mod Podge is actually its own kind of, well, actually it's by Plaid? Sure. Anyway, this is the Mod Podge I use. This is what I'm using for this. I think this one is gloss. I usually go with matte. Couldn't find matte, so I got gloss, but it doesn't matter for this project either way, because metal is usually a little shiny.
All right, I'm out. Peace.